This girl right here got raped by a madman. Dive into the real gist with me. Prince Obinna came back home after completing his master's degree in the UK to reunite with his parents and family. Everyone was happy until the unthinkable happened. One day, as Prince Obinna took his mother, the Queen, on a ride to bond and catch up on the old times, as they were enjoying themselves, riding around the small town village, enjoying the gentle flow of the fresh air, out of nowhere, an accident happened. A big truck ran into the prince's car. The queen died on the spot, but the prince was severely injured. Prince Obinna had a severe injury on his head and needed an operation immediately, but he was in coma. The entire kingdom was thrown into mourning. Everyone prayed for God to heal their prince. The king was devastated but remained resilient. Fortunately, the prince came out of coma, but when he heard the news about his mother's death, he went into shock and started behaving strangely. The prince started acting like a mentally unstable person. The king, on seeing the condition of his dear son, started preparing and making arrangements for the prince to travel out to do the operation because the prince had really lost his senses. The king appointed many servants and guards to take care of his son. 3 days before the prince supposed to travel out, he disappeared. Nobody knew where the prince was. None of the servants or guards saw when he was leaving the palace. The police was involved, and the search for the prince commenced immediately. Everyone continued praying for the safe return of their prince. Now enter the beautiful Nneka, a pretty 27-year-old lady who has graduated from the university 3 years ago but has no job. Nneka has been job hunting for the past 3 years but was unsuccessful. None of the relationships she had been into was ever successful, although Nneka was very picky when it comes to the kind of man she wanted to settle down with. At 27 years old, Nneka was worried and greatly troubled. She neither have a job or a husband. Nneka became desperate and decided to be going from churches to different prayer houses looking for solution to her problems. Nneka attends any revival nights and night videos that she had taking place and comes back home around 4 to 5 a.m. in the morning. Her parents and siblings have warned her to stop coming back home that early in the morning, saying as a lady, it is very dangerous for her. But Nneka never listened. Meanwhile, in Nneka's village called Omago, there is a madman who lives there. He was everyone's favorite because of his accent and the Polish English that he speaks. People loves and gifts him always. One day, as Nneka was returning home early in the morning after attending a nice vigil, she got ambushed and overpowered, then got raped by a madman in the darkness. It was the noise coming from the people surrounding her that woke her up from sleep. Nneka, recalling the horrible thing that happened to her, started crying, and people helped her and took her to the hospital. No one knew who the madman was as Nneka couldn't remember the face of the madman. Few weeks later, Prince Obinna was found and immediately flown out of the country for treatment, while Nneka discovered that she was pregnant. When she informed her parents and siblings about the pregnancy, they all advised and encouraged her to abort it. But Nneka remained adamant and refused to abort the pregnancy, saying that it was against her faith. 1 year later, Prince Obinna had successfully regained his senses and memory after the operation and treatment. He was healing, while Nneka gave birth to a handsome and charming bouncing baby boy against her family wishes. But miraculously, Prince Obinna can still remember everything that happened to him when he was mentally unstable. He was also able to remember how he forced himself on a lady but couldn't remember whom the lady is. And this horrible incident tortures him daily as he was making plans to return home and vowed to look for the lady himself and apologize. Few months later, Nneka went on an errand when her sister came running, telling her to come back home with her immediately, that someone was looking for her. Nneka followed her sister back home. Immediately, she entered her father's compound. There he was, in his full glory, the prince of Umunkwo Kingdom, Prince Obinna. When he saw Nneka, he immediately knelt down, crying and apologizing to her. Narrating the ugly past incident, Nneka also started crying, both comforting each other. Prince Obinna was over the moon when he was introduced to his handsome son, the exact photocopy of himself. No DNA was needed, as the little boy looked exactly like his father, the prince. The king was also happy when he heard the news. Little by little, Prince Obinna and Nneka became friends. Then they fell in love. 1 year later, they got married, and it was a perfect match made in heaven, as everyone was happy. The beautiful end.